start in seated. We'll do a little neck work and then do some leg work. If you're feeling extra tight in the outside of the legs or the pelvis, and some of the stuff that we do becomes too much, get yourself a chair or use the couch edge or a wall and just bump yourself up so it's not as intense. But let's just see what comes here, and we'll see what we can do in our bodies. All right, go ahead and close your eyes and start to be aware of your breath coming in through your nose if possible. Imagine or notice that breath trailing down into your lungs and then noticing the belly expand. And then when you're ready, a nice deep exhale, letting any tension go that you've been holding on to. And do that breath a couple more times with just this idea of I'm coming into my practice to let things go. Or some days we might need to refresh and kind of grab onto some new creative ideas. But most likely today, let's just relieve any old tension. Let's do that breath one more time. Just deep in through the nose. Visualize it trailing down through the lungs into your belly, and then a nice big out. Good. From here, let's go ahead and let our belly move forward, our chest move forward, and then tuck the chin in just slightly first, and then start to bring that chin up towards the sky. And then start to round, bringing your chin towards your chest, really thinking about a C shape throughout your whole spine. And when you're ready, breath in deep, letting belly move forward, chest move forward, tuck your chin just slightly, and then go ahead and look up. Soften those shoulders. Go back and forth a few more times, just at your own pace. And checking in with where the mind goes as you go back and forth. Is it busy tonight? Is it really focused and calm? Feel good along your spine to move back and forth, or are there parts and pieces that just don't feel as good? And then the next time you come through center, go ahead and pause at center. Keeping a nice long spine here and your shoulders right where they're at. Bring your chin towards your chest. So shoulders stayed back or where they were at, chin towards the chest. Drag your chin down and to the left. And go ahead and look to the left. And then drag it down again without bringing those shoulders forward. Drag it down and over to the right. And just check in with what the neck has to say. Let's do that one more time, each side. Down, drag. Over, and down, drag it on over to the other side, and look to the other side, and then bring it back to center, and up if you weren't already. All right, from here, let's go ahead and do our pocket stretch. So we'll bring our right ear to our right shoulder. We're gonna start to look down towards the right knee, possibly imagining, or if you have a pocket on your right side, look down to that. If the stretch still feels like it's missing something, go ahead and reach down through your left hand or reach out away from your leg. So if you're not feeling something still, you just come back to center. Drop right ear to right shoulder. Start to turn down towards the right side, right pocket, and reach out. You can even do a few circles if that felt good. And then dropping the hand and thinking about this left shoulder blade dropping down towards your bum. We'll stay here for one more breath. And then start to take your nose and look up, your gaze up. And then look down again. So the right ear stays towards the right shoulder. There's lots of nerves in the neck, so if this doesn't suit your neck, then you don't have to do it. Find something that works for you. One more time if you're moving here. And then noticing as you look down how the goal is to stretch this muscle. It starts at the base of the ear, goes down and attaches to the shoulder blade, so kind of the backside stretching. And then once you start to look up, notice how this front of the throat, side of the neck kind of starts to stretch. And then come back to center. Ooh. And kind of move things around because that was kind of intense for me. Let's see what it was like for you, but just move it around, check in with things. And then we'll come back to center, left ear to left shoulder. Start to look down to the left, maybe the left knee, maybe the left pocket. From there, check in with this right side. Do you feel anything kind of on the back side of the neck? If you want to play with more, you're going to think about descending, dropping this right shoulder blade down. Maybe you do it by reaching down or kind of reaching out to the side. Good. Let's stay here for 2 breaths. Maybe making a few circles with the right hand. Maybe the other way. Just finding what feels good to you. And then pausing. We'll start to look up if that feels doable. And look down. And look up a few times. And down a few times. Connecting with that breath. And here's our last time. Bringing that head back to center. Let's make sure it works still with all the movements. Bringing your chin towards your chest, dragging your chin over to the right, then looking directly up or at least out to the horizon. Bring your left ear to your left shoulder and down again. And let's just roll it out a few times. See if you can roll the chin across the chest and also look to the side and then down again. Pause where you're at. Go down to the opposite direction. Over, up, over again and down. Move that neck around. And don't get dizzy. And come back to center. Let's do a few more seated cat-cow. See if it feels different in our shoulders and neck. So inhaling, tail back, belly forward, chest forward. Tuck your chin just slightly and start to look up. And then around everything, thinking about that C of the spine. And a few times forward and back. Notice if you've forgotten to focus on the breath, bring it back into play. A nice deep inhale. And that nice deep exhale. Coming back to center here, we're going to turn to the right. So our legs stay, our navel turns to the right, our chest turns to the right, and our gaze. And then we're going to take this left hand today and see if we can kind of karate chop the outside of the knee. Now that's a pretty deep twist for me, so I might choose to bring my hand to my shin. But if it feels like over time, as you start to twist, you can take this left hand to the right knee and offer up a twist. The right hand can go behind you for a little kickstand, or it can stay at the hip. Let's take 2 breaths here. As you exhale, see if your body is willing to twist any more. You might notice your sit bones, the left one especially, coming off of the ground. See if you can connect that back in and see if that small adjustment makes it so you need to move out of the pose or possibly be able to move in a little bit deeper. On your next inhale, go ahead and come back to center. And then we'll exhale, go to the other way. So navel turns to the left, sternum, gaze. And then we'll take our right hand and see if it's going to go to the shin, the knee, or the knee, the right hand to the knee itself. And then maybe that offers a little bit of deeper twist. Left hand, yogi's choice today, can be on the hip or kind of kickstand behind you. And then check in with the sit bones again. Is all your weight over to the left? Can you drop back into your right side and see if that changes your twist at all? Let's take one more breath here. Good. Inhale back to center. If you are feeling, we're going to walk forward, and I always like to have my blocks, so if you want to grab them just in case you want to use them, great. So we're in seated, and then we're going to start to take our hands out in front of us. In this pose, we really need to think about somebody pulling on our tail, dragging our tail back so that our spine can stay nice and long. And our belly starts to come towards our legs. And we walk out as far as we can. I used to really hate this pose because I couldn't get my pelvis to tip or my tail to go back. So if you're in a position that just doesn't feel good to you, back off. Take a few breaths wherever it feels doable. Maybe you ask for a little bit more, or you revisit it another month or another year even. It took me a few years to enjoy this. One more breath. See if you can melt your heart a little bit closer to the ground. On your next inhale, push down through your hands into the blocks or the ground and wander yourself back up. Good, and if you're using the blocks, let's get them over to the side. Let's all come into all fours. We'll bring the knees on the blanket if we choose, and our hands on the mat. From here, we're going to keep our knees where they're at, tops of feet or toes on the mat. And then you're going to think about your right hip moving a little bit over to the right. So your tail kind of swings over to the right. We're going to keep that and start to walk our hands over to the right. So you're stretching that left side body is the goal. Swooping the tail over to the right. Maybe it feels good to go back a little bit. And you might breathe in, come forward. Exhale, breathe back. Remember, you don't have to do it if you're like, why would I want to do that? It feels awful. Everybody's body's different, so we're going to honor if this feels good or not in our own. Good. 2 more breaths. If you're taking that tail back, think about the tail trying to touch your right heel. And then come on back. Wander back to center. And we'll go over to the other side. So wandering those hands over to the left. We'll take our tail and swoop it over to the left. We'll allow our hands to walk a little bit further to the left. And then if we choose, take our tail back to our left heel and kind of rock it back and forth. As you inhale, you might come forward. As you exhale, you might let that tail come back. Let's rock a little bit here. Maybe like you're in an old rocking chair. And one more time. And coming on back up. Let's take our child's pose, toes together. Maybe you start to take your knees further apart to feel the stretch on the insides of the legs. Tail goes towards those heels. Walk your hands out in front of you. Make sure the tail doesn't come way up. Try to keep it dropped as much as possible. Let that chest drop, forehead drop. Your hands can stay up overhead, or you might take them to your sides. Let's take 3 breaths here. Drawing that breath to our low back. And if you're feeling it in the insides of the legs, because your knees are wide and that feels good to you, then imagine that breath going to the legs also. Got one more breath here into the lovely child's pose. And on your next breath in, I was going to say when you're ready, but I don't know if today would be the day I was going to be ready to come out of that. So let's continue on with our practice. Coming on to all fours. I'm going to turn my better side to you. Just kidding. We're going to take our right leg and cross it up and over our left. So you're going to cross. See if you can cross the legs. And then from here, we're going to start to send our tail back. If that feels easy to you, I'm going to invite you to take your feet apart and up towards your hands as much as possible. And then start to descend that tail back. Now some of you might end up just having the hands on the ground. Some might sit on a block. Some might come right to seated on their bum. But remember, we're trying to investigate what, especially the left side feels like. So the left side of the leg, as you start to go back, is what we're trying to get into. And so I want you to see where you feel the most stretch on the left outside of your leg and hip. So when you feel a good stretch on the left side, I want you to pause there and breathe. You can feel it a whole bunch of other places. The other thing I'll note is for some reason only one side of my IT band actually feels like it's stretching. So if you don't feel anything on your left side and you've tried to play around with it, well, you might feel it pretty intensely on the other side. Let's go ahead and inhale, come back up. Undo those legs, and then we'll go to the other side. So left leg crosses over right. Take your tail back to test. If it feels like you need more to feel it in your right side, you're going to take your feet apart and closer towards your head. Then you'll start to go on back, seeing if you can feel it in your right outside of your leg, and your bum possibly, and see right in the spot that feels like you're getting a good stretch. And we'll take 2 breaths here. On your next inhale, we'll slowly walk ourselves on up, unwind those legs, and come into a wide cross-legged child's pose once again. Kiss those toes together, let those knees splay out. Drop the tail towards the heels and come on forward. Let's take 3 breaths here. If the mind is really roaming today, I'm going to invite you to take really deep breaths, really strong breaths that really get into your core so that it leads the mind to believe that you're doing some really big work here, which you are if you're breathing deep. That's always a good thing. We'll take one more breath. And on your next inhale, you're going to come on up to all fours and then find yourself in standing. We're going to end up with both of our blocks or possibly a chair. I'm going to start with 2 blocks. If you're feeling extra bendy or you've done a lot of exercise today, maybe you do 1 block or 0 blocks, but I'm going to start with 2 personally. And go ahead and have the blocks at the front of your mat, maybe stacked. All right, from there, you're going to stand a couple feet back from your blocks. That might change. And walk your left foot in the middle of the block. So we can always rearrange ourselves as you go, but you're just going to walk your body a little bit to the right of the block so your left foot is kind of in the middle of your blocks. Then you're going to take your right foot and cross it over your left. And if you're already like, whoa, I'm challenging my balance, move closer to a wall, just because we don't need to challenge ourselves too much and fall over. From here, we're going to start to grab our hips, bend our back knee as much as you can, and then start to stick your tail back as you forward fold. Grab a hold of your blocks, and we're trying to stretch the outsides of the legs again. And specifically here, the outside of the right leg. So if you feel it in a bunch of places and you're like, this is plenty for me, go ahead and stay. You might be able to go lower later. If you feel like you can do more, keep on lowering your blocks or get them out of the way. And just try to tune into that right side of the leg and see if you can start to feel a stretch there. See if the feet can be placed on the mat. So sometimes the toes have to be launched out to the side. We're just going to see how much of the foot can place on the mat. And see about that belly coming towards the legs, the chest, and the head. See how far you can go down. As we stay in this position, you might need to come out. Or the body some days allows you to go deeper as you stay. We're going to stay for 2 more breaths. Remember that bend to the back knee. On your next breath in, bend your knees. Push through your feet and your legs. Use that core to come on up. And then as soon as you can, unwind those legs. Let's just go ahead and shake things about. Maybe kick out a foot. Just don't kick your blocks, especially if they're cork. That's not going to feel so good. But anything that just feels like you're taking a little bit of a break before we go to the other side. All right, from here, we're going to go the other side. So I like to think about my foot being kind of in the middle of the blocks, my right foot first, then cross the left, bend into the back knee, grab a hold of your hips, tail goes back. As you forward fold, we move from our hip creases. The space between our belly and thigh gets smaller. And then find your chair or your blocks. Tune in to your left side of your leg. And see how far down you need to go to feel a nice stretch in that space. See if both feet will be on the mat here. And keep on thinking belly drops, then chest goes, then head goes. Remember, the reason that we do it that way is that if we round things up and think about a C in our low back, we're not getting into the legs as much as I want you to. So we think long spine, tail back, sits bones back, belly drops, chest drops, then head drops to get into those legs. We'll take 2 breaths here. Go ahead and bend your knees. Start to come on up slowly. Use that core and the legs to come on out. And then let's go ahead and move our blocks to the side for a moment. And let's do a little, we'll do 3 half sun salutations. Let's just really get into opening up and getting longer here. So go ahead and inhale, bring your arms on up. Really stretch them, bring your right fingertips a little bit higher, your left fingertips a little bit higher, then both of them even. Bend your knees a little bit, send your pelvis back, your sits bones back, and swan dive yourself on forward. Touch to the ground, your shins or your knees, and halfway look up. And a nice exhale, forward fold you go. Let's take 1 breath in our forward fold. You can do whatever you want with your hands. Dropping that head. It's going to be a long breath here, nice and deep. And on your next breath, inhale, rise on up, reach up. And a nice exhale to heart center or hands by your sides. Let's go ahead and take our feet a little bit wider than we just had them. Same thing. Inhale, bring those arms up overhead. Really reach. Exhale, tail back, sits bones back as you swan dive over. Hands can be to the mat, the shins, the knees, or the thighs as you inhale, halfway look up. Exhale, over you go, giving a nice stretch to the backs of the legs. You might feel it in your low back. Also, see if you can feel anything on the sides of the legs today. On your next inhale, rise and reach on up. And as you exhale, hands will come to heart center or right by your sides. Here's our last one. We're going to take our feet a little bit wider. Maybe your feet are as wide as the mat. And that might wake up the sides of the legs a little bit more. Here we go. Inhale, rise and reach. Exhale, push that tail back, swan dive over. Inhale, halfway look up. Exhale, over you go, taking a pause there, seeing where you feel it with your feet wider. I like to give a nice strong bend of my knees as I come up, because then it feels more like a squat and I can use my legs and my booty as I come on up. Reach on as you exhale, bring your hands back to heart center or by your sides. Good. All right. Hopefully that felt pretty good. Let's go ahead and grab one block or two blocks, your choice, and we're going to bring them right out in front of you, but you're going to use your long edge of your mat. So switch yourself around to bring the blocks to the long edge of the mat. And then you know what's coming. Take a wide stance with your legs. Before we go over though, I want you to grab a hold of your hips and kind of be aware of the sides of your hips here. I want you to push down through the outside edge of your feet. So you imagine the muscles on the sides of the legs allowing you to start from up here and push down to your pinky toes. Get your weight in your pinky toes and balance that also with your heels so you feel some strength, some power down to the outside of your foot. Keep that. So you're going to keep the push to the outside edges of the foot. Keep that, keep that, keep that, and then forward fold to your blocks or your chair or to a wall. Keep the push through your pinky toes, and then you're going to halfway look up. So you can come to your fingertips on the ground or your blocks. Keep pushing through the outside edge of your foot. Draw your belly first down, then your chest, then possibly your head. We're going to stay here for 3 breaths. Now, if you get lightheaded or something just makes you need to move, then go ahead and honor that. Otherwise, we're going to stay here for 2 more breaths. On your next breath in, halfway look up. You can be on your blocks, the ground, your fingertips. Think about a long spine here. Last time in this position, push through your pinky toes, your heels, and the sides of the feet, and then forward fold once again, letting the belly drop first, chest, then head. See if you might be able to go a little bit further. See if you're pushing evenly through the right and left foot. And then inhale, halfway look up. Bend your knees. Grab a hold of your hips. Push down through your feet. Lift yourself on up. And take a moment there before you start to bring those feet back together however you want to. Okay? Good job. All right, from here, let's get our blocks. Make sure they're just off to the side of the mat so everybody's safe. You'll be at the top of your mat, and let's take a warrior pose. So we're gonna take our right foot back into a stride. Pigeon toe your toes to the right. Bend into your front knee. Grab a hold of your hips to start. So one thing we see a lot is this front knee likes to come in. Today we're really gonna focus on we could even bring our left hand to the outside of the left leg and give it a push. So the knee pushes into the hand. The hand gives a little bit of resolve or resistance, and hold that there for a minute. So knees pushing into the hand's resisting. Let that go. Bring your legs straight, hands to hips. So my front leg's straight. I'm gonna bend into it again. Make sure my knee's not going past my ankle. Make sure I feel a stretch there in my pelvis, but not an extreme one. And then see if you can bring that left hand to the outside of the leg again. You might take your knee in for a moment, see what that feels like on the body, then push the knee out, strong. See if you can feel the outside of your hip, your leg working a little bit there. Now let that go, but keep it, and then bring your arms front back for warrior 2. Nice job. That looks great. Make sure your weight's not in your front leg. It's balanced between both legs. Breath in strong. Breath out, let your hands drop and come on up to the top of the mat. Good. Let's go right into the other side. So you're towards the front of your mat, your left foot's gonna go back. You're gonna pigeon toe those back toes a little bit. Bend into your front knee, grab a hold of your hips to start. Check in with this front knee. Does it do it more? Does it come in? Does it track in? Take your right hand to the outside of the leg or the knee. Push the knee out, the hand resist. Pause there, see how that feels. Bring the hand to the knee, straighten the leg. Maybe you decide, I felt something in my pelvis, but I didn't feel a lot, so I might go wider or longer with my stride. So taking the stride a little bit longer, possibly bending into the front knee so the knee's right over the ankle. Hand to the outside of the leg. You might take that knee in a little bit, then push it out. The hand resists, hold that, keep that. Bring your arms front back for warrior two. There you go, good job. Now, where's your weight again? Is it all the way forward? Can you get weight equally through both legs? Gaze at your front fingertips possibly. The hands don't have to be front back. They can kind of be off to the side too. One more breath here. Letting those hands drop, start to walk yourself up to the top of the mat. Good. We're going to come to seated and go ahead and bring your strap with you. Let's see if I can remember this one. Just kidding, I got it. All right, so strap's just off to the side in case we need it. Here, let's go ahead and just take a moment on our backs because it's just nice sometimes when we stand up and we might not have had a ton of energy to come to class and we did it anyway. And we just got done with the bigger part of our exercises. So just coming to the back, kind of honoring, oh yeah, that feels good. I get to chill now. We're going to take our left leg straight. And then bring your right leg up and over to the left side. So my left leg is straight. My right foot's going to come up and over to the left side. Try to bring it up as high as you can. And what I like to do is bend my left leg so that the outside of my left leg is now on the ground. My left knee is bent, and my right knee is trying to come up as high as I can towards my head. See if you can kind of mimic something along those lines. If the leg needs to stay straight and the right foot's further towards your foot, that's fine. Okay? So bringing your arms out to a T position here. I'm going to see about reaching down to, with my left hand, to the bottom towards my ankle. And today, right now, I just grabbed a hold of my pants. But this might be where the strap kind of comes into play, because you can figure out how to lasso that strap around the lower leg so that you can get a hold of it somehow. Okay? So you've got a hold of that lower leg, the right lower leg, and you're imagining bringing it up towards your head. I've got a good grip on my strap, good grip on the leg, whichever you choose. And I'm imagining bringing that foot closer to my head. At the same time that you're doing that, push your knee, your right knee away. And see if you can feel something on the outside of the top leg, the right leg here. And one side I feel a lot, and the other I don't feel so much. So if you don't feel anything, let's just keep bringing the right foot towards our head, pushing away with the knee, and just seeing what we feel there. And if we don't feel anything, we might feel it a ton on the other side. Now I'm noticing the longer I stay here, the more I'm feeling, so hopefully that's a good thing. Let's take 2 more breaths. My right arm's just out to the side. Maybe closing the eyes. We don't want to tweak our knees, so if you're feeling it in your knee, let's back off with pushing the knee out. Good, and then unwinding from that, I'm going to take my strap to the side and just take my legs along here and just check in with my legs because this is a new one, a new stretch, a new thing. And anytime we're working with the knee, we always want to check in with it, make sure we're not overdoing it. So legs are straight. Then I'm going to take my right toe to my left knee. Start to twist over to the left. My arms are out to my T position. My gaze could end up over to the left, or up to the sky, or up to the right. And this is a pose that my body is always changing. So I'm going to ask all the questions. What feels good in this moment? And then on your next breath in, we'll come back. Let's bring both of our feet to the ground first. Bring our hands by our sides. Push down through your feet. Lift your pelvis straight up. It could be a little or a lot. And then drop it straight back down. Then we'll take our right leg long. See about that left foot crossing up and over to the right side. From there, I'm going to bend my right knee and bring it kind of towards my bum. And that kind of settles my right side of my leg onto the ground. This side might be different. You might be able to grab a hold of the lower part of the left leg. If you can't, feel free to use that strap or towel or whatever you have close by to keep that left foot coming towards your head. From there, option to push the knee away and see if you can feel it on the outside of your leg. Remembering we're not here to tweak the knee. So if pushing the knee away makes it not feel good, then don't do it. You can stay here in this somewhat of a twist. Left hand could go out to the side if you choose. Let's take a few breaths here. Good, releasing the hold of the strap or the leg, taking the legs long. Taking a pause there. Then we'll keep the right leg long, Take those arms out to a T position, palms up. Left toe to right knee or somewhere around there. Start to twist to the right. Gaze could be to the right, could be up to the ceiling, it could be over to the left. Take some nice deep breaths here. Make sure the shoulders and the arms are softened. The eyes and the forehead softened. And that jaw too. Deep breath in, come back to center. Bring both feet to the mat, let that breath out. Let those arms return to the side. Push down through your feet, lift that pelvis up, and then drop and balance the pelvis right back down to the mat so that you have even weight between your right and left side. From there, let's take our feet as wide as the mat. Keep our arms by our sides, and we're going to stay soft through our arms and our shoulders and even our head. You're going to push through the outside edge of your foot and your heel and lift your pelvis straight up. See if you can feel the outsides of your legs and your bum working. You might be able to push your knees a little bit apart and get a bigger feeling, and then straight back down. Do that a few times with your own breath. Soft through the arms, the shoulders. Push through the outside edge of the foot, the heels, lift on up. Make sure you have the same amount of pressure down through your right and left foot. And when your body's ready, straight back down you go. 3 more times. Inhaling up. Squeeze bum, pressure balance between both feet. Straight back down. You got 2 more to go at your own pace. Feel strong through those legs. Next time you're down, go ahead and pause and you're down. Heel toe those feet back to center. Take your right leg and cross it all the way over your left, so your upper thighs are touching. From there, let's see about drawing the knees into the chest. If your low back is touching the mat, great. If it feels like it's kind of away from the mat, bring your feet back down, lift your pelvis, tuck your tail under, and then drop down. And join us back with knees into chest. Hug those knees in. If you feel something on the outside of the right leg, great, stay there. If you want to go for more, you're going to take your feet about knee height. Push your feet away. See if that changes something on the outside of that right leg. And if you want, you can start to walk your hands down to your ankles. Check in with the knees though. Sometimes I see people really gripping a hold of the legs and there's a kink in the knee that doesn't feel good. And so we just want to make sure that we want to be kind to our knees. Let's go ahead and take another breath here. letting all of that breath out. And then unwind your legs. Let's bring the bottoms of the feet together into butterfly pose. So pads of the feet touch, heels touch, toes touch if possible. And then see if you can push down through the outside edge of your foot. And see if you can push so much through the outside edge of your foot that you lift your pelvis up off of the ground. Now this isn't a necessity, so if you're having foot issues and it doesn't feel right, then don't do it. You're gonna drop back down. See if it's okay to push through the outside edge of the foot again. Lift pelvis and come right back down. One more time, breath in, push down through the outside edge of the feet. Breath out, drop back down. Bringing your knees back together so your feet are again hip distance apart. Cross your left leg over your right all the way. If your low back is off of the mat, let's go ahead and lift the pelvis, tuck your tail under and drop it back down. And then if you choose, knees into the chest, grab a hold of knees. This could be your pose, checking in with the outside of the left leg. If you feel like going for more, you can lift your feet, push your feet away, and possibly walk those hands down the lower leg. We'll stay here for 2 breaths. Unwinding slowly, bringing those feet to the mat, taking your feet as wide as the mat, taking the knees apart, so there you're imagining your knees dropping down towards the ground, and then on your next breath in, draw your knees towards each other. Let them drop in towards each other. On your next inhale, open the knees, take them out. Your feet still touch the ground for the most part. And then as you exhale, draw those knees in towards each other. 2 more times. Breath in, knees go out. It doesn't have to be a lot. Breath out, knees together. Notice that where your femurs, your thigh bones, and your pelvis meet as you go out. We really are trying to open or move that joint in the socket. So if it feels pinchy at all, just means the joint's not quite rolling as we want it to. Just back off. Maybe as we do this next one, the body allows you to go a little bit deeper. Or again, maybe it's next year, next week. Let's do 1 more. Closing and opening. Bringing those feet back to hip distance apart, walking them on in. Bring those knees into the chest. Hug the knees in. Sway side to side, or if you feel like taking yourself into happy baby, kicking those feet up, grabbing a hold of the backs of the legs or big toes, or outside edges of the feet. And we'll just sway here. If you've got a hold of your feet or a hold of the back of the leg for happy baby, you might pause and center. Keep a hold of your right foot or right back of the leg. Kick your left leg out long so your hand isn't touching it anymore. Kick the leg out and then see if the leg will drop out towards the ground. It's definitely not going to touch the ground, but just see about taking that leg long. Opening up the insides of those legs. This was another one I could not do for a really long time. grabbing a hold of whatever you're going to grab a hold of on the left side. Kick the right leg long, let the hand go. And then see if the leg wants to drop out and might find the couch or the wall. That might feel good. And see if we can stretch the inside of the leg. Okay, that one I can't do for very long. Bringing the foot back in. Let's head to our Shavasana. Picking a pose that's going to work for us today. Sometimes my low back gets irritated. Just kidding, it's not sometimes, it's most of the time. So I take my feet wide, draw my knees in, or I put my feet up on the couch or put them up on something. You choose. Maybe even today child's pose would feel good for your Shavasana. Get creative or not. We're going to take about 3 minutes here. Settling on in. We'll take some stillness and some quiet. Let's go ahead and start to take 3 deep breaths in through the nose. Open that mouth and deep sigh out. Keep going at your own pace. Allowing those shoulders to be completely relaxed. The arms, hands, and fingers. Make sure that head feels heavy, or maybe today you want it to feel like it's light. Just feel like it kind of melted into the mat. Allow your pelvis to soften and melt into the mat. And the legs and feet. And when you become ready, or I should say if you become ready, because you're more than welcome to stay, roll on over to a side if we are ready. Take a moment there. Push ourselves on up to seated. Find a position there that works for us. as we get to seated, if we choose to, let's go ahead and take note of how we came into our lotus pose or crisscross applesauce. And normally one leg will be on bottom, or it will be one leg out in front of the other. And just noticing how that feels in your hips right now. And then taking that bottom leg or the leg that's further out and bringing it either on top or back behind the other one. Just seeing how that feels. Excuse me. See if your sits bones, or at least both sides of your pelvis, feel even. And if they're not, could you get them a little bit more balanced? Could your shoulders soften a little bit more away from the ears? Your hands can be on your knees, at heart center, or a place that resonates with you. Thank you for being here tonight. Namaste.